What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and last night I went undefeated at my 60-player locals using a branded strategy, and this time I did not use the Keeper of the Dragon Magic build. A lot of you guys were really upset that I was on the Keeper of the Dragon Magic build. I do still personally think that Keeper is the better variant, but you guys wanted a more pure variant without Keeper, so I went and tested it out and obviously got the results. Took first place. Let's go ahead and show you guys the build. Okay, so to start things off, we are playing 3 copies of the Fallen of Albaz. Now, the reason we bumped this up to 3 is multifaceted. Obviously, the option of Kashtira banishing it is very, very high, but with the addition of Quem, you probably want one to send to the graveyard as well. That way you can reborn it off Rindbrum during your opponent's turn and use it like a pseudo super poly. And then the third and final reason is also because we are now playing Nadir Servant, which is a way to play through Ash, and I'll explain that when we get there. But I think that if you are not playing the Keeper version, you do have to play 3 copies of Albaz. Then we, of course, have our 1 copy of Cartesia and our 1 copy of Quem. I've considered bumping both of these up to 2, not at the same time, like either 2 Cartesia and 1 Quem, or 1 Cartesia and 2 Quem. Not really sure. But they played out at 1 yesterday really well, so I really just need to do a little bit more testing, but for now, this is what I think is probably correct. Then we have our 1 copy of the Spriggan's Kit. This is part of the Nadir Servant play, which we'll explain again later. We have 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Mercurier. I really want to play this at 2 because I really like the ability to banish one and use one as a hand trap, but it is what it is. And then we have our 1 copy of Albion the Shrouded Dragon as well. That's it for the Albaz monsters. Then we played a little bit of a Despia package, obviously. We have our 3 copies of Aluber. This is just your starter for the deck. It searches any of your branded spell traps. Don't really need to explain it too much. And then for the last Despias, we are still playing 1 Tragedy and 1 Ad Libitum. This is just a really easy search into your Aluber. This is to reborn your Mirror Jade mostly, really strong. Then we are still playing 2 Bestials. We have the Lubellion because it is a combo piece, being able to be used as the light for Albion, as well as then being able to summon itself, putting the Albion in grave, and activating Lost from our deck. And then our 1 copy of Saronir. This is just kind of utility as well, and part of the combo if you open up the Lubellion as well. And then we are main decking 1 copy of Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. Now, I really don't like main decking this, but this is what the pure version is doing now. And the reason that I personally don't like it is just because I lose 90% of my dice rolls, so I don't want to play a card that is really only good going first. But worst case scenario, if you're going second, it can still just be a free discard for your combos. And if you do have to go into the grind game, you can still summon it. So, I mean, it's kind of hit or miss, but yeah, main deck the Gimmick Puppet. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This is mostly for the crossout target, but it's also just generically good as always. And that's going to be it for the monster count onto the spells. Of course, the bread and butter of the deck, we have the standard 3 Branded Fusion. You can't play any less of this. This card is absolutely insane. The only card that actually makes this deck playable. Then we have our 3 copies of Opening. I mentioned in the last profile that I did consider cutting this to 2, but that was before Quem came out. With the addition of Quem, this is a mandatory 3 of. Then we have 3 1-ofs for branded spells. Obviously, we have our branded Lost, no need to explain. Our branded in red, this card's just incredible, especially to make a Guardian Chimera. And then the new edition is branded in High Spirits. This is part of the Nadir line. So if you get Ashed on your Branded Fusion, and you happen to have Nadir Servant, what you do is you go Nadir Servant, send Sprind in the extra deck. We'll talk about that when we get there. The Sprind in the end phase will be able to summon the Spriggan's Kit. Spriggan's Kit can add the Branded in High Spirit. Backtrack a little bit, the Nadir is going to add you the Fallen of Albaz. So Nadir, send Sprind, add Albaz. End phase, Sprind, summon Spriggan's Kit. Spriggan's Kit, search Branded in High Spirits. Because High Spirits is a quick play, you go Branded in High Spirits, activate, reveal the Albaz, discard the Albaz, send the Albion from your extra deck to the graveyard, and now Albion can activate in graveyard to set Branded in red. And now you have Branded in red with a live Albaz in the grave as well for the Branded in red, and that lets you do something like potential Mirror Jade and or Guardian Chimera on your opponent's turn, even if you got Ash Blossomed. So yeah, that's going to be the play for the Nadir line if you get Ashed, but I mean, it's kind of not really too consistent. Obviously, you can also Nadir send the Lulu summon either the Quem or the Cartesia, but that's probably the better play is the Branded and High Spirits line. I don't like it because now you're relying on opening an additional card on top of the branded fusion, and it's not really searchable, so that's why I don't think that this is the better variant. I still do think the Keeper is better, but yeah, you guys wanted to see it, so here we are. We have 3 copies of Crossout Designator. You have to play this card, no ifs, ands, or buts. If you get ashed on your branded fusion, it is no good. You are not going to be able to do much, and you want to make sure that you have every opportunity to stop the Ash Blossom, so that's why we have to play this card. 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. You can use this to summon out Albaz, you can use it to summon out the Cartesia. It's just a really good extender. You can use it to pseudo play through certain hand traps, like if you have a Aliber and you want to make sure you don't get Impermed or Ash, you Fusion Deployment into, did I say Destiny? It's Fusion Deployment into the Cartesia first, normal the Aluber, effect to search, it gets Impermed, quick fuse with the Cartesia, done and dusted. We are on our 3 copies of Nadir Servant. Remember, this card locks you out of summoning from your extra deck, so this is going to have to be the last thing that you do. Again, it's mostly just the contingency for the branded fusion, but even if your branded fusion goes off, this is still just an additional extender during the end phase as well, because you're not summoning anymore at that point, so you might as well get some added bonus. We have 2 copies of Super Poly. This card hilariously underperformed, and there's a 99.9% chance that I'm going to cut it. The reason it underperformed is kind of 50-50. On one side of the coin, I only played Garura as the target for it, and nothing that I went up against was really needing to be Garura'd. Yeah, that's really that. The other thing is it's just, I never really needed it. I only resolved it twice, and both times we're using my own monsters to just make sure that I can fusion summon without them responding. Or like if they did something like Imperm my Aluber, I was able to fuse it away with the Super Poly and still get the Aluber. So I'm not really a fan of the Super Poly right now, but maybe that'll change if I change up the extra deck a little bit. Then we have some one-of spells. We've got the Call by the Grave. Again, we need as many ways to stop the Ash as possible. And then we have our Foolish Burial and Gold Sark. These are just extenders / starters, being able to use either one of these to send the Tragedy and Tragedy search an Aluber, or if you need to, you can use the Gold Sark to send Mercurior, then Mercurior can search any monster that lists Albaz, so just kind of get you there. And then for the final 2 cards, we have the 1 Expulsion and the 1 Retribution. That is the main deck at 44 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. So when it comes to the extra, there are definitely some changes that I would like to make. First and foremost, I said if I'm going to continue to play Super Poly, probably upping the count. But there is another change that we'll get to after I show you guys the extra deck. So starting things off, we have our 1 copy of Dust Dragon, absolutely mandatory because of Cartesia. This is also the easiest way to get the Gimmick Puppet lock, because when you summon this, you can send the Gimmick Puppet, and then your Albion is going to set your Expulsion, and there you go, you have it. You attribute this off of the Expulsion effect, summon the Gimmick Puppet to your opponent, and that's pretty much just a free win. Then we have 1 copy of Queritus and 1 copy of Masquerade. These are the only Despia fusions that we play. I know this one isn't a Despia in name, but you need a Despia, so these are the Despia fusions. Both of these are relatively important. I might cut the Blazing Dragon just because I need room for a card that I definitely missed. But if I cut the Super Poly, then I'm just going to cut the Garura, so I just have to do a little bit of testing there. Then on to the Albaz fusions. We have Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon. This card never came up. I never summoned it. I never looked at it. We have Expulsion. I don't see the point in this. Maybe I'm missing something again, but yeah, I don't really feel like this is necessary. We have the 1 Lubellion for obvious reasons. This is one of the strongest fusions. We have the 1 Rinbrum. I really like this card to out the Cast Hero board, but 9 times out of 10, you're just going to use it to send it off of your Mirror Jade or off of another card effect from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then use its effect to Reborn an Albaz. And then we have our 1 copy of Sprind. This is for the Nadir Servant line that I talked to you guys about a little bit. We have 2 copies of Albion the Branded Dragon. Sometimes I actually did miss the 3rd. I know that a lot of people are only playing 2. A lot of people have only been playing 2 for a while. But there were definitely a couple games last night where I felt like having a 3rd would be really, really strong. We have our 2 copies of Mirror Jade, obvious reasons. And then to end off the fusions, we have 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Dragos Depelia, and 1 Garura. Again, Garura might get cut if I decide to cut the Super Poly, and the 15th card in the extra deck is going to be the Lulu Walilith. Now, the one change that I want to talk to you guys about is the new Synchro out of Cyberstorm Access. That is going to be the Cloud Beast Malong, whatever its name is, and the reason I want that is for the Cartesia Dragon, the Dust Dragon. On summon of the Dust Dragon, you can use it to send the Malong because it is a level 6 light, and when it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a face-up card and return it to your opponent's hand. That came up a lot of times in last night's tournament where I really wish that I had that. During my opponent's turn, I had a live Cartesia, and there was nothing really worth sending off of the Dusk Dragon, so if I had them along, it would have made my games a little bit easier. So I definitely want to fit Rumen for that. Maybe the Garura, maybe the Sanctifier Dragon. I really just need to test more, but that is going to be the extra deck. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my first place undefeated branded Despia deck profile without Keeper of Dragon Magic. Again, you're going to play whatever you feel most comfortable with, and you're going to play whatever you like the best. I personally still think that Keeper is the better build, but this obviously puts up results as well, so you guys know the deal. If you like it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with friends, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.